sneaking up on Lincoln and Mary. The viewing of Lincoln's coffin. You could see how tired and aged Lincoln was after the years of conflict, showing the grief that a mother feels. Springfield, Illinois, and we're going to check out the Presidential Library. You guys are coming along. Let's go check it out. Alrighty, there's a statue of Abraham Lincoln, of course. And it sits in this little park right in front of the library. So right here we have another Abraham Lincoln statue. See how tall it is. And I'll get out of the sun. It says, a greater task. Why should there not be a patient confidence in the ultimate justice of the people? Is there any better or equal hope in the world? First inaugural address. Right there, the Presidential Library. We are inside the Abraham Lincoln Library and Museum. This is inside the Lincoln Presidential Library. This is, I guess, would be the rotunda. Now it's set up in sections. This is, the White House, and there are some treasures back in there. Here is pre-White House. When he's young, growing up, this is early Lincoln. And we're going to go explore. Now they have this, a scavenger hunt, where you're looking for things. Where is the penny located in the plaza? Which Lincoln child is missing from the family? You got to figure that out.
They did all their cooking.
This would be early Lincoln when he's growing up. Very neat.
Sound.
This represents the slave auction block. Before the Civil War, a slave auction block such as this could often be found in major southern cities. As I would not be a slave, so I would not be a master. This expresses my idea of democracy. Whatever differs from this, to the extent of the difference, is no democracy. Here's a young Abe Lincoln in a general store. Abraham Lincoln and Mary Todd. After moving to Springfield in 1837, Lincoln met an intelligent, articulate, ambitious, and aristocratic Southern woman named Mary Ann Todd. Mary had come from Lexington, Kentucky to stay with her sister. This is the tombstone of Edward Eddie Baker Lincoln. Lincoln wrote his stepbrother John D. Johnston in February 1850 with the sad news that 3-year-old Eddie had died of tuberculosis. We lost our little boy. He was sick 52 days and died the morning of the first day of the month. We miss him very much. When Eddie's remains were moved to the Lincoln tomb in 1865, His 1850 stone was flipped for reuse as a family plot marker by Mary's in-laws, the Edwardses. It was discovered in Oak Ridge Cemetery in 1950. But there's the stone from Eddie Baker Lincoln. The war begins. Of course, Triumph and Tragedy, February 1862. The Lady in Black, it's hard to have him die, Lincoln blurted out at the loss of his son. Thereafter, he shut himself up every Thursday, the day of the week in which Willie died, and gave vent to his grief. And there was a display showing the grief that a mother feels. Look at the display of Lincoln with his Secretary of Treasury, Attorney General. Pretty incredible to see how they did that. What do you think? You like it? It goes too far. It doesn't go far enough. Don't sign it. Oh, check that out. Look at that. The Emmancipation Proclamation.
Your national greatness swelling.
Lincoln received much heated and conflicting advice about how to handle slavery, but ultimately the decision to write and issue the Emancipation Proclamation was his alone. After the Union victory, he felt the time was right. He issued the proclamation on September 22nd, 1862. It became effective January 1st, 1863.
You can begin to put it right.
Alrighty guys, let's keep moving on. Now here, when you come over here, and you tap to start, you can look at each photo up close and it'll tell you about it, which is pretty neat to see. Incredible. Lincoln through the years. Goes through each year as he aged. And here's Lincoln's hands and face. These castings were made by the well-known sculptor Leonard Wells Volk in 1860 after Lincoln's nomination for presidency. They show a vibrant, strong character eager to accept the challenge of the presidency. And you can touch it. That's a casting of Lincoln. And Lincoln's face in 1865. This casting was done by Clark Mills a few months before Lincoln's assassination. You could see how tired and aged Lincoln was after the years of conflict. Last speech. Booth saved a Lincoln. John Wilkes Booth is particularly known for assassinating Abraham Lincoln, but before April 14th, 1865, he was just a member of America's most famous acting family. His father, Junius, was perhaps the leading actor of his day, and John's brother, Edwin, was highly respected and well known. The family had even crossed paths with Lincoln before. Alrighty guys, the next section here in the library represents the night at Ford Theater and talks about Lincoln's last words. Now I did another vlog from the Ford's Theater in Washington, but this is it right here. Ford's Theater, April 14th, 1865. There it shows John Wilkes Booth. Now he had that door propped, sneaking up on Lincoln and Mary. And you want to know Lincoln's last words? As they're sitting in the box, Mary held his hand, and at a few minutes before 10 o'clock, she hugged him and asked, "What will Miss Harris think of my hanging on to you so?" Lincoln turned to her with a tender reply, "She won't think anything about it." Those were the last words Mary ever heard from her husband. Moments later, at 10:15, John Wilkes Booth gained entrance to the presidential box, put a pistol behind his ear, and shot him. This talks about the funeral train home after Lincoln passed away. Now the room before you is an exact replica of the Hall of Representatives at the old state capitol in Springfield. On May 3rd and 4th, 1865, Lincoln's coffin was presented here for its last public viewing. Check that out. There's an exact replica of what they would have seen when they visited the viewing of Lincoln's coffin. It definitely brings gravity to the whole events, and makes you realize what a life-changing experience it was for all the people. Look at that bust of Lincoln. Incredible. I wish you could see just how massive it is. This plaster cast of Lincoln's head was made in preparation for a 1908 marble version, now in the rotunda of the U.S. Capitol in Washington, D.C. Copies of the bust are found at several other locations, including, for example, the Lincoln Tomb here in Springfield. For 35 years, this plaster cast greeted visitors at the entrance to the Illinois State Historical Library, the old state capitol. Wow, that is massive and absolutely beautiful. Alrighty guys, what do you think of those highlights from the library? But until our next time together, it's your friend Chris. Peace.